What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Gotta Get Back, the Samurai Jack and Review Show. Welcome to Project Potter. My name is Kyle, your host. If you haven't seen the show before, guys, we're reviewing every episode of Samurai Jack. We're doing a recap. We're doing a favorite character, a favorite scene, score out of 10. Some trivia. We have Jack, who doesn't remember that he's Jack in this one. And so, without further ado, guys, here we go. Okay, guys, so we begin this episode on a ship, and there's a few different bounty hunters there. There's a ticket checker, of course, because even though it's the future and there's all these crazy bounty hunters, of course, someone's checking tickets. So someone is tanning out there, and there's a gun in his face, and we find out it looks a lot like Greedo, which is not a coincidence. We find out later. And it turns out it's the Scotsman, and this is the third time we've seen the Scotsman now in the series. The last time him and Jack went and rescued his wife, and then the first time, obviously, when they met on the bridge there. So the Scotsman is always great, but the waiter comes over, and it looks exactly like Jack, and he spits out his drink, and he's like, "Oh, there you are," and he's like, "Bro, I don't know who you're talking about." He's like, "I'm Brent Westgrove," or whatever. His name is Brent. And he's like, "What is Brent?" He's like, "Brent is something you put on your sword," or he's like, "Or what happens when my wife sits on it?" He's like, "But don't tell her that." I was like, Jesus, Scotsman, get it together, man. So, he's telling him like, "Oh no, of course he's like, "You're the baddest bounty hunter in here." He's like, "Everyone's looking for you." And he's like saying this out loud, and he's like shaking Jack up. He's like, "Did someone take your brain?" He's like, "What happened? Did someone brainwash you?" And he's like, "Bro, I don't know." He's like, "Bro, I don't even know who Samurai Jack is, bro." And yeah, all the bounty hunters like perk up, and they're like, "Oh, that's Samurai Jack," and everyone's after him. So he just punches Jack, and he goes flying. And the Scotsman's like, "Oh," and he has to kind of defend Jack the whole episode. So all of the bounty hunters come after him. Scotsman throws a grenade over, and they jump overboard. And Jack is like, "Dude, what's going on, man?" And he's like, "Well, these people are after you," but he's like, "I'm gonna help you get your memory back." And he's like, "I'm telling you, man, I don't know Samurai Jack." So they go in the middle of the ocean, and Jack is riding on the back of the Scotsman, and like there are these creatures or these like sea people that come up, and they've got like a trident, and they're fighting on these big fish, and they're talking in bubbles, and somehow Jack understands them. I don't understand how that is possible, but he's like, "Well, they told me that a guy that looks just like me apparently saved them, and apparently the guy that looks just like me comes over." It's like some, I really like Jimmy Fallon, honestly. But yeah, they're basically like, "We never got to thank him," and they're like, "Thank you so much." And he's like, "I've told you, man, I'm not that guy." And Scotsman's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." So they go back down the sea, but it's just another example of Jack helping out. So they swim to a nearby island, and the Scotsman is like, "Look, Jack, I'm going to help you out. Don't worry." And he sees like a scar, and he's like, "Oh, there's a scar in here." He's like, "Only one creature could make that scar." He's like, "Come with me." And he kind of walks around with them, and he's like, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." He says it like the whole time. They eventually come to like a cave, and the Scotsman is like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna save you." And there's a dragon there, and it's like he kind of seems ferocious at first, but Scotsman takes him down easily, and then he like pulls him by his neck beard, whatever, like the hair, and he's like, "Hey, have you seen him before?" He's like, "Yeah, he got me into a good place." I'm washing now. He's like, "I'm not doing anything that I used to do, or whatever." But he's like, after that, like, I went like go to the shipyard or whatever. So they go to the shipyard, and Jack is still walking around, and they're like, "Do you guys recognize this man? Do you recognize this man?" And everyone's like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" And he's literally like putting Jack up. He's like, "Do you recognize this man? Do you recognize him? Do you? Do you? Do you?" And these people are just like looking at him funny. So he goes into like a cheap food place, and there's a bar, and he's like, "Has anyone seen this man before?" And he holds him up, and then he looks up, and there's a huge wanted poster of Jack, and he's like, "Oh, right." And it's really cool because the swordman takes out his sword, and he puts Jack in the holster, and all the bounty hunters now are like ready with their guns and their knives. And he's like, "All right." He's like, "I'm just trying to clear something up." And then we see him like run through. Swordsman takes out like all the bounty hunters. It's really, really cool. He uses the shield stuff. He's got some great lines. I don't remember all of them, but basically he ends up like blowing up this place. They see like an old guy in like a raincoat, and he tells them like, "Oh, you got to get a crew and sail to this place or whatever." And Jack's like, "Bro, I don't know where you going." So they go to the chart house, and this guy tells them a story. He's like, "You got to go over here and follow these directions, but you need a crew." And then they go and find a crew, and he's like, "Well, we'll go with you, but it's going to cost you 10,000." And Jack's like, 10,000? We can just get our own ship for that price." One thing I didn't mention that I do want to mention before I forget. So when they go to like the bar, it's called Hex Bounty, and there's a great Star Wars reference where the Scotsman says, "Hex Bounty." He's like, "You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." I was like, "Yes, dude!" Straight out of New Hope from Alec Guinness's character from Obi-Wan. So that was awesome. I was really excited when he said that. But yeah, they get a crew and they go on the ship, and then we get our second to be continued of the episode, and they're setting sail and they're still trying to get Jack's memory back, but that is how the episode ends. Okay, guys, for Magic Sword for this one, it's the Scotsman. I mean, he's taking Jack, and obviously something's happened to Jack here. And watching this one, I was like, I don't remember if this is just like a duplicate character that looks exactly like Jack, or if it's really Jack and something happened. Because he's like, "Man, I'm just Brent. I don't even know who Samurai Jack is." And I was like, I can't remember if it is actually Jack or not, but I'm pretty sure it is. But yeah, Scotsman saves him, and it's just funny like seeing him being like, Jack is so like stoic and like tight knit. So like to see this version where he's just like his hair's down and he's like, "It's all good, man. I'm just around for the ride." It's like seeing the Scotsman like be like, "Dude, I don't know what's going on with you," but he's like, I'm gonna put you on my back literally, and like we're gonna figure this out." So seeing him fight everyone for Jack and all that stuff, and like just seeing how much he cares for him is really great. So the Scotsman, and he's funny and he's charismatic and everything, and he's not afraid of any battle. He'll take anyone out. So he gets my Magic Sword for this week. Portal in Time, guys, it has to be when they pull up to Hex Bounty, and the Scotsman says that line where he says, "Hex Bounty, you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." I was just so happy that they put that line in there. And then, yeah, they obviously they have like the bounty hunters in the beginning and the guy who looks like Greedo and all that stuff. So we might get into that for some Jack facts. But yeah, that one shot where he says that, super, super great, like a great homage to Star Wars. So that's got to be my Portal in Time for this week. Hey guys, for a score for this one, I like that Jack has amnesia. This is a good little twist there. I feel like a lot of season 4, I'm giving really high scores. So I'm not trying to grade on a curve here. This one is an 8.3 for me. I enjoyed it. I like that they kind of put a new twist on it. But I mean, we end on a cliffhanger, but I was kind of like, all right, well, like I'm trying to remember like what happened to Jack. And so they're like, go to this island and go here and go there. And it just kind of feels like we've been down this path before, but I am excited to see kind of where it ends up. And I just thought it was a good episode, just not anything crazy. Okay, guys, Jack facts for this one. As I mentioned before, and as anyone who's seen Star Wars will know, this episode includes many references to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, such as an alien character similar to the appearance of the Rhodian bounty hunter Greedo, which we see approaches the Scotsman at the beginning. A bounty hunter in the background that wears an armor with a notable resemblance to the Mandalorian Boba Fett, which is cool. That was also on the ship. And then the captain's lines directly quoting Han Solo, which I don't think I picked up on that one. I must have missed that one, but I'm sure it was good. And then on the one I talked about where the Scotsman describes Hex Bucket as a wretched hive of scum and villainy. So yeah, very, very tied into Star Wars. Obviously, Genndy went on to do the Clone Wars, but yeah, it was clear that not only did Genndy love Star Wars, we've seen multiple Star Wars references throughout Samurai Jack. So we're 45 episodes deep now, and that's as evident as ever. But those are our Jack facts for this week. All right, guys, that's it. That's another episode. Like I said, 45 down. So that was the official halfway point of season 4. This is part 1 of 2. So obviously we'll be back next week for part 2 to see if the Scotsman can save Jack and get his memory back and all that and find out what happened to him. So that should be interesting. I like that they changed it up with this episode. But yeah, in terms of the channel here, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Ring that bell notification if you enjoyed the content. Hope you did. Go check out the other content, of course. And thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. And until next time, gotta get back.